Hello, Dr. Mercury. Today I'm going to be doing my presentation over a current event. Obviously, we are currently in a nationwide pandemic, but even interesting enough, we live in the state of Iowa, which currently is the slowest and highest cases of coronavirus in the nation currently. So I brought up few articles that are going to pop up in the video in just a second here. These are the two articles that I really read and got a lot of my information from, at least what I'm going to do my current event about. I've decided to kind of intertwine it with the principle of utilitarianism. I think that's just a really interesting ethical theory to use it to base it off this, just due to the fact that this is such a nationwide situation. When you think about the actual theory of utilitarianism, it's about trying to find the solution that brings the most amount of happiness to the largest number of people. So that's why I thought that this was an interesting current event to do my presentation over. So, as you can see, the first two articles that I'm going to be speaking about, one is actually that Iowa has, since April, the highest number of new COVID-19 cases. Now, when you think about this ethically, our state of Iowa actually never locked down completely, not once. Almost every other state in the nation did have at least a full week of mandatory lockdown. Kim Reynolds, our governor at the time, has not done that. Ethically, when we think about it compared to altruism, is it right for Kim Reynolds to do that, since in her head, is she providing the people with the largest amount of happiness, giving them not total lockdown? I mean, when you think about it, yes, these people are probably happy, but there's also a large majority of people that are quite worried with the current situation, getting sick, older members in their house. So this is why I thought it was very interesting to compare it with the theory of utilitarianism, just due to the fact that, do these leaders really sit down and try to think about the topic that's going to bring the most amount of happiness to the most amount of people, or are they more concerned about the safety of the people and the government itself in the country? Now, the second event that I wanted to talk about is that Kim Reynolds of Iowa, which we are still, like I said, not on full lockdown, have never been on full lockdown, and we have the highest reported number of cases of COVID-19. She plans on reopening the state of May 1st. And she even said that people who are unwilling to go back to their jobs are no longer required to file for unemployment, which is absolutely ridiculous if you honestly think about it. Is that decision really bringing the most people happiness, the most people the sense of safety? And they're not even going to be paying people more to return back to work or risk their lives. Now, coming from a personal experience, my girlfriend, who is a nurse, she receives no extra pay, no extra hours, for essentially putting her life at risk every single time that she walks into work. Ethically, when we think about that compared to what John would have said or Brannigan about utilitarianism, do you think they really sat down and thought about the happiness and the full actions of what they're doing? Probably yes. And when you think about it, the government probably decided that if their actions are right and happiness ensues, then they probably have done the correct thing, which is one of the principles of utilitarianism. Now, everyone's happiness counts equally, though, which is the biggest principle of utilitarianism. So how do you figure out what decision is going to provide the most amount of people the largest number of happiness? And I think that's why this is such an interesting current event to do this over, because how do you figure out how to control a pandemic, an actual virus, and also provide the decision that's going to give the most amount of people happiness? And I think this is one of the reasons why I find this theory so interesting, because I think it makes a lot of sense if you think about it, trying to find the decision that brings people the most amount of happiness. But when you actually get down to the root of the problem and you try to figure out all the variables that goes into figuring out what makes people the happiest and what the best decision is, especially in this form of this pandemic, I think it's an almost impossible thing to do under the principles of that, just due to the fact of what we've learned in the book, in our readings. All these people, like in the first text about altruism, the IRA, which this woman, it talks about how she wanted to bomb a city street to gain rearance for the Irish Republic. Now, in her head, the cause, yes, a few people might die, but the cause and the message completely outweighs what they're going to do. But when it comes into the millions and millions of lives of Americans, is it worth a few people to die to let everyone go out of lockdown because more people are going to be happy? Or will it make people more happy in the long run to quarantine them, have them be unhappy, but save more lives in the long run, maybe make them more happy? So I think that's where the internal dilemma of utilitarianism comes into play, especially. In no way do I find this to be the most effective theory, but definitely do I find it to be one of the most interesting, especially dealing with current nationwide pandemics that actually do involve a large number of people. That was one of the main reasons I chose to kind of link these two theories together and kind of explain how I think this theory would work out in the real world. Um, Another interesting thing is when you're making a decision for all these people, do you base it off other states? Do you base it off just your state? And I just think truly Iowa in general has not done what they can. I don't think they're even making decisions trying to make the most people happy or safe. I think they're trying to do it based on money and the economics rather than the people who actually live in the state.